Hi everyone, this is Shiro from Guided Soul-ution. On this episode, I wanted to talk about something that comes up quite often in my sessions, the importance of closures. We're constantly shifting from what I interpret as one season of life to another. And this is often marked by various punctuations. But one of the key components that determines how you transition into the next is closure. Everything I share in this video is based on my perception, observation, and interpretation. Please feel free to engage with me about any different perspective or interpretation you may have to create synergy. Your respectful spirit and open mind is greatly appreciated. The season of our life is constantly shifting. Even when we observe our calendars, it's filled with beginnings and endings. And between each season is the transition, which is punctuated often through celebrations and milestones and such. But what I like to focus on this episode is endings, because how you end things greatly affects the way you begin the new. So we're most familiar with beginnings as it's most often expressed in positive ways. This is why we celebrate birthdays, engagements, weddings, housewarming parties, New Year's, and so forth. And there are some joyful endings such as graduations, retirements, but for the most part, we're conditioned to mourn endings like breakups, divorces, job loss or change, and most of all, death. But as the leaves wither and fall off the tree in order to make room for the new to come in the springtime, so does our lives in various levels, because even death will mark another beginning. Let's look at this from a vibrational standpoint. We've all seen someone leave a job saying, "I hate my boss," only to find a new job where they hate their new boss again. Or pattern the types of people they date. It's painful to watch someone repeating an abusive or destructive relationship pattern, right? This often occurs because we hold a certain vibratory frequency and are constantly transmitting at various levels. And when we are shifting from one season to another, the frequency you hold is also changing. Because the nature of the shift is to raise the vibration, which is the meaning of evolution or growth or learning, however you call it. If something dense or lower vibratory frequency is not addressed, which often is the case with unfinished or unresolved matters, that frequency will anchor itself to the new season where your spirit guides or inner voice or conscience, or what I like to call the universal team, will help to bring to your attention so that you can release the anchor of density and complete your shifting process. Let me show you something for a second. I wanted to kind of show you on a visual level what I kind of see through my mind's eye whenever I'm in a session with a client. So I wanted to show you my masterpiece. This is me, and these are chakra points, different aspects of my life. So I'm living, I'm vibrating, like this. Right? And vibration in different levels all happening. Now, a change or crossroad, a milestone occurs in my life and my vibration shifts. This is what we call shift. So each vibration has its own shifting process. Now, let's say, for example, in this case, my root chakra, which has something to do with security, survival, confidence, so forth. Let's say there's something unresolved or lack of closure whether in this lifetime or previous lifetime or past lifetime, it still continues to vibrate at the same frequency. And because the nature of the universe, thus nature of us, is to balance things out, because it's all about harmony, this perpetuating frequency creates dissonance or discord with the rest of the aspects of my life in vibratory state. And in order to regain harmony, either this shifts up by closures and healings or release, or the rest of my vibratory state needs to come down so that it can recreate another harmonious state, which would be the detrimental aspect or path. So this is kind of the way I wanted to kind of present on a visual level what lack of closure is like on a vibratory level. I hope that helped. And since life is multidimensional, you can scale it up or down, apply this on various levels. So for instance, a traumatic experience without a closure by means of healing will leave an imprint that will be triggered over and over by similar experiences down the line. Then magnify that to lack of closure in life, and it would mean that we would carry that on to the next life. On a side note, we can also look at this in our current situations with like racism, such as Black Lives Matter. Imagine the lack of closure in history and how it permeates to the culture of ethnicity, because lack of closure also carries through genetic imprint as well. Now, closure and healing of this magnitude still starts with an individual level on both sides. So when you see a bully, when you see someone that's constantly in a victimized situation, that's a perpetuation of unhealed, unresolved imprints. So on one of the oppressor and the other of the victimized both needs that healing in order for something that to come to an end. Now, because all that there is the now, meaning that there's no linear past or future, everything including our past and future is coexisting in the now or present, anything that is lingering or occupying your present is affecting or influencing your future. Now, one thing I want to reiterate here is that importance or significance of closure isn't just about resolving or addressing negative issues, which is why having celebrations to christen or to bless the transition is a great way to mark closures, boosting the way the new beginnings with an uplift. So if you are in a transition or shift in your life, congratulations to you. Be sure to give yourself a celebration. Now, although this topic can be explored more deeply, I'd like to touch on how we can go about achieving closures. So closure in a nutshell is about being done with the season of your life in complete peace, embracing both polarities of blessings and heartbreaks, which is balance. If a particular person is representing that season, for example, understanding both sides of the story through empathy is one of the key components. Empathy guides us to forgiveness, respect, and endings in full appreciation of that person. The difference between sympathy and empathy is that sympathy, you are in the same vibratory state as that person. Empathy is you objectively tuning into that other person to understand their story and feelings without syncing yourself to that frequency. And empathy is activated when we detach, which puts us in an observant position without filters of our own bias and emotional ties. Forgiveness is a broad term, often misunderstood as some type of pardoning of one's action or something you give to someone. but it's actually not about you giving it to anyone. And even when we say forgiveness is something you do for yourself, it may be hard to have a full grasp of what that really means or how it can be done. The mechanism of forgiveness, as I observe it, is me acknowledging my portion of accountability, because connection is always made with a soul agreement. In a particular experience or connection that says, I own my portion of involvement, and I will take myself out of this season, experience, or phase that I shared with you, so that you can fully see your portion and choose what you want to do about it for your own good or detriment. And I accept that this happened for a reason or purpose of greater and higher good. So if I'm holding a victimized mindset, or if I'm in a state of blame, this can't be achieved until we first let that go. Now, sometimes forgiveness needs to be activated for ourselves. In that case, we do the same thing, except we'd have that inner dialogue to say, I understand that that was the best I can do at that time, and it was necessary to serve a purpose for my own learning or healing, or even serving a purpose for the other person. And as that acceptance activates, forgiveness will also be set in motion. Some of the known methods of processes would include what they call cord cutting, where there's said to be an energetic cord that ties us to people we share connections with, or even with any experiences. And as we sever this energetic cord, we set the closure process in motion from a metaphysical level by literally severing a holographic cord in a meditative state. Forgiveness is also one of the expressions of that cord cutting process on an energetic level. So this would be especially important if the connection was toxic. And you can do a lot of research online regarding cord cutting. I also have my version of cord cutting process on my website through the link I provided below. Please check it out if you're interested. My process is more about taking yourself back, because when I see the lack of closure in a session or with a client, I always see a piece of that person left at that timeline or with that person, thus seeing the present condition as not whole or incomplete. So by having closures, we become whole again. Of course, sometimes closure takes time and repeated process to arrive. Whether it happens instantly or through process and time depends on the individual and the value of the process itself. Closure isn't something you can just simply rush through because you want to get into a new relationship or because you're just anxious to move into the next phase. If a similar topic pops up in your new season, reconnect with yourself and ask for guidance. It doesn't always mean that you went backwards or it's a regression of any type. It just means that you're being shown again to see it from a new angle. Because sometimes time and process may be of great value to you. Faster doesn't necessarily mean better. Now, being stubborn, in a state of denial, being prideful, victimized, or in a state of blame greatly negates from the process, since they all hold an energy of resistance. And as you know, what we resist persists. So it would require for us to be aware and totally honest with ourselves before we even talk about closures. But the mere fact that you are watching this video right now would indicate that you are already in motion one way or another. Whatever your transition or shifts may be, I hope this video added some value to your process. If you'd like a personal session and guidance, or need assistance with your closure, please contact me at the information on your screen or down below in the description. If you have any questions or suggestions, please feel free to comment. I greatly appreciate you subscribing to this channel for more episodes. Hit that bell for your notification. Until the next time, from the heart, namaste.